Hello, hello, little friends. Welcome back from your 4-day weekend. I have something exciting planned this week, and it is totally and completely different from what we've been focusing on during other weeks. We are going to read a story this week. And when we read this story, we're going to practice making predictions. So a prediction is a guess about what's going to happen next. When we make a prediction, we say what we think might happen before we find out what does happen. So in this story called Harold and the Purple Crayon, this little character Harold makes a lot of decisions. And when it comes to the point where Harold is going to make a decision, rather than turning the page and reading about what he does, we're going to make a prediction. Before we turn that page, we're going to say what we think will happen. And there's a few ways that you can work to make very good predictions. One of those ways is by really listening closely to the story. That way, you're going to find out the kind of things that Harold likes to do. When you find out about the story and about the characters, you can make really good predictions because you already know about a character's behavior. You already know the type of things that might happen in this story. And another way you might work on making really good predictions is by thinking about your own life, stories that you may have heard from other people, TV shows, other books that you've read, but things that you've seen happen that have worked in similar situations. So when something happens to Harold and he has to solve a problem, you might have had a similar problem and you did something that worked. That's another way to make a good prediction. So today I'm not going to read this entire story. I'm going to read part of the story. And whenever we come to a point at which Harold has to solve a problem or make a choice, we are going to pause and make predictions about what we think Harold might do and what we think might work in this situation. So are you guys ready? Let's read this story together. The title of the story is Harold and the Purple Crayon. And the author and illustrator, the person who wrote the words and drew the pictures, is Crockett Johnson. Harold and the Purple Crayon. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. And he needed something to walk on. Look at what Harold's doing, right? He has two problems. He wants to take a walk in the moonlight, but he has no place to walk and he has no moon. So what does Harold do to solve those problems? What do we know about Harold now? He made a long straight path so he wouldn't get lost. And he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. So what do we know about Harold and what he likes to do when faced with a problem? What has he done so far? He's used his purple crayon to draw solutions to his problem. And now that he's gone off on his walk, he's taking his purple crayon with him. So I predict that he might be using that purple crayon to solve problems later. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long straight path. So he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. So Harold decided that there should be a tree over here, so he draws one. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So, I'm going to make a prediction that Harold might want to protect the apples on the tree. And I'm trying to think about what ways Harold could use to protect the apples on that tree so that other people didn't eat them up. So I drew a picture of my prediction. I predict that Harold is going to draw a fence around the tree to protect the apples. Let's see what Harold actually does. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. Did Harold choose my prediction? Did he make a fence? No, but my idea was pretty good, right? His idea is also really cool. It was a terribly frightening dragon. Look at Harold's face. I think he feels a little bit afraid of that dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand, holding the purple crayon, shook. Oh, he's shaking, shaking, shaking. Suddenly he realized what was happening. But by then, Harold was over his head in an ocean. So now it's going to be your turn to make a prediction. Harold has a problem, right? He accidentally drew some waves in the water and then he fell in. How do you predict Harold will solve this problem? Okay? If you have the time, I would love for you to draw a picture of your prediction and send it to me. But we're not going to find out what happens until tomorrow, okay? So make your predictions, and I want to see all of your really awesome ideas. And tomorrow we're going to find out what Harold decides to do to solve this problem. All right? I'll see you guys then. Bye.